This video is for entertainment purposes only. None of the information you're about to hear should be considered medical advice, and you should always consult a licensed medical practitioner before embarking on a health or lifestyle change. So this week we're with Lillie, is it?
It's pronounced Nili. I know
Lillie?
it's spelled strange.
Yeah, okay. No, that's why I asked. So Lillie, and your channel or your brand is Indigo Nili.
Yep.
So, well, thanks for being here. I really appreciate you coming on the show to speak with me for a little while here.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. The show, typically I like to start off with each week asking the guest sort of just to get to know you a little bit better. I'm sure most of my audience knows who you are and probably follows you already, but sort of for anyone who doesn't, and sort of if we can go through how you got into like the healthy space and, what brought you to making changes. And then after that, we can just go where things take us, basically.
Sure. Yeah, so I got started in the health space pretty early. I was on the standard American diet as a kid up until about age 17, and I was pretty overweight through high school, which is always a difficult thing going through high school and being overweight. So I was motivated to lose some weight, and at that point, the Atkins diet was popular back in the early 2000s, and I had just gotten engaged when I was 19 and going to get married. So I was really motivated to lose weight. So I went on the Atkins diet, and like magic, I dropped like 30 pounds just in a couple of months. And, I thought I had found the holy grail of weight loss, and that everyone just needed to go on the Atkins diet and it would cure the world. And it's funny now, what is that, like 20 years later? My diet actually looks very similar to what the Atkins diet was then. But I went through a whole roller coaster of trying to learn more about health and diet and nutrition, and tried all kinds of different things, trying to coexist with carbs, feeling like, I was hearing things from other, doctors and people saying you need carbs and that low carb isn't necessarily healthy. So I tried all these different diets, including paleo and South Beach and all these different diets. And through all of it, I ended up coming back to keto. And I wonder now, like, what it would have been like if I had just stuck with the Atkins diet all this time, what differences there would have been. But through all of the different diets I've done, I've always learned something, and I've always, tried to take what I could from each approach and apply it to, the way that I've built my diet now. So I don't follow any one particular guru or diet. I kind of just have learned over the years what works for my body, and I try to stick to that. And that's something that is always evolving because we change as we grow older, and you learn new things and try and experiment with different things. And so it's kind of like it's a continual process. I don't know. I always say I don't know that I'll ever really truly arrive, where maybe on my deathbed I'll have it all figured out. But until then, I'm just continuing to work with what I know and what I know works well for my body, and then continuing to grow and kind of refine as I move forward. I did try keto again after trying to work, with carbs in my life for a long time and really not having a lot of success with it. I did try keto again back in around 2010, 2011, when keto, became an actual name of a diet. Before that, it was just low carb or Atkins. But when keto came on the scene, I tried that again, but that was when low protein was very popular. And so I tried to do, the super high fat and keep my protein like 60 grams a day or something, and felt horrible and couldn't control my appetite, just felt generally awful. And at that point I thought, well, keto doesn't work for me. At the time, I didn't realize that adding more protein in might make me feel a lot better. I thought, well, keto doesn't work. That means I need to add carbs again. So I went back into trying to coexist with carbs again and doing other diets through there. And it wasn't until carnivore really became popular and I heard Kelly Hogan talk about her carnivore diet and how she didn't limit protein that I had the idea that maybe I would try low carb again and see if that protein piece made a difference. And it made all the difference for me. So I have been keto, low carb pretty much for the last 4 years now. And it's one of those things where I do continue to experiment and refine it, but I'm not going to go back to, trying to coexist with that high amount of carbs again. I will stay low carb. I'm pretty confident from here on out.
Yeah, that I think that's, it makes a lot of sense that, obviously you've been doing experimenting with many different things in the last for like a lot of years. So, I could see how you could find different things that work. And then it's funny how I don't know where it came from, but the whole, I guess when the keto name first came out, it was probably still tied to like therapeutic ketosis, right? Which is a high fat, low protein, low carb diet, but that's not for the general population, whereas, people do evolve with these kind of diets. I'm the same way too. I couldn't survive on a low protein anything diet.
Yeah.
Really. So it's, I think it's amazing that you're able to continue to come back to sort of, again, what makes you feel best and how things, evolve and you can make changes all you want. Because if you get stuck in this is the same way, I'm going to do this the same way for the rest of my life, then 6 months from now, you're going to find out that, okay, well, you may have lost some weight, you may be feeling better, but things start reversing again. So you kind of have to roll with the punches.
Yeah. And I think you have to learn to be honest with yourself and not just get stuck in like a tribe or a dogma where it's like all of these people around me say that this is supposed to work. So I'm going to convince myself that I feel good even when, all of these things are happening and I really don't feel good. It's really easy to want to go with the crowd. I mean, that's the natural thing for humans. And when you have all these people around you that are telling you this is the good and true and perfect diet, and everyone that does it feels good, then you don't feel right going against that. And so that's something I've had to learn. And I've been kicked out of a lot of different diet communities because, it's like I have to figure out what works for me. And that doesn't look like exactly like anybody else really, even though little pieces here and there will look like other people, but I have to get all the pieces together for my own puzzle.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think that's pretty much in a nutshell why I started this show, 2 years ago when I got onto YouTube. It was because exactly that. I think we all start with the sort of same goal in mind, whether it's weight loss or feeling better or like overall health. But you can almost guarantee that we're all going to get there differently. Like there is going to be parts that look the same, but we're all going to get there. Like when I first started keto 4 years ago, it was all about, keto products and keto baking and all this stuff. And, from where I started then and where I am today, my YouTube name has keto in the name because that's where I started. But, I'm not really, I guess, technically you wouldn't say I'm keto anymore. So it's a very protein heavy keto diet. I don't eat much vegetation at all anymore. So
I'm close to the carnivore.
Yeah, but I'm not, I couldn't call myself carnivore either. I couldn't call it a carnivore channel because then I'd get the hate from the carnivores, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad that, so I've had my YouTube channel for about 12 years and I didn't expect it to be a keto channel, when I started it. So I'm really thankful that I didn't put a diet name in my channel because over the last 12 years, I've been all over the place and it would have been very confusing. So I'm thankful that I, stuck with just my name,
Mhm.
just me. So I always say my channel is about me and whatever I'm into at the moment. And some people, are upset. They want me to be just a keto recipe channel or, just whatever. And I'm like, sorry, it's just going to be what it is, or else it won't be sustainable for me to continue. I just have to be able to share whatever it is I'm currently into. And right now it's keto and sometimes carnivore recipes and things like that. And then also my life.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I've thought about that with my channel too, because like it's still my channel's still at the point where I could probably change the name and
Yeah.
not lose too much if I stay with the same kind of content. But I don't know. Seems like it's a risk. I don't know. Yeah, I
It
guess I
is.
could
It's
do it and
tricky.
change it back, but and that's why even this show, when I first started this show, it was called Keto Conversations.
Ah,
But that was actually back when I didn't really even know anyone on YouTube. I just started my YouTube channel, but I knew a lot of people on Instagram. So all of my guests were from Instagram, and
ah,
everybody from Instagram was following keto. So that's where it started. But that's why I've changed it to just like a proper human diet podcast,
right.
because like Dr. Barry says, as long as you're eating real food and not eating all the garbage, then
Yes.
you can keto, ketovore, carnivore, paleo, any of that spectrum.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I
It is a
want.
spectrum.
Yeah, and that's what I want to try and bring to everybody, because there's things like the whole protein myth. Um, I had someone commenting on one of my videos this week, and I was just making chaffles, like it was something basic, but they were worried about the amount of protein in it, and I'm like, okay, well, it's an egg and some cheese. Like it's not, unless you're eating 3 pounds of ground beef with it during the day, I'm not really going to be too concerned about having too much protein from something like that.
Right. And that's another thing where everyone has to find what works for them as far as protein. Because some people, they say that too much, whatever too much ends up being for them of protein will spike their blood sugar. And obviously that's not a great thing. So figuring out your kind of protein threshold is great. But then there are other people that can, eat 3 pounds of ribeye a day and their blood sugars are perfect. So
Mhm.
it's another one of those things where, well, and I talk about this all the time on my channel, where you don't necessarily just need to find a perfect diet for you. You have to take into account your own body and its current state. Because if you're dealing, like for me, I was eating lots and lots of red meat, lots of iron-rich foods for years, and I found out that I was iron deficient. And so if you looked at my diet, it would have been the perfect diet for someone who had iron deficiency. Yet there's something going on in my body that's not allowing me to absorb iron. So it's not enough just to find a perfect diet. You have to look at your body and figure out how to work with your body to get it to function in such a way that it can actually utilize the perfect diet that you're feeding it. And that's something that a lot of people just kind of ignore. They just focus on the food. As long as I can get my macros perfect, as long as I can get all these micronutrients perfect, then it should translate to, perfect health. But we live in a world with all kinds of imperfections all around us. And a perfect diet isn't necessarily going to fix all of those. Now, a good diet can fix a lot of things and it can be a huge, huge lever, but it can't fix everything going on. And so sometimes you have to dig a little bit deeper than diet. And that can be frustrating for people who want to see a diet as almost like a religion. Like this is the perfect, good and true diet, and everything about it is good. And if you do it, everything about your life will be good. And you just kind of have to put that aside and take into account all of the other aspects of life besides just nutrition, which is complicated and tricky and takes a lot of
Mhm.
time and sometimes a lot of money. And it's not easy to go on that journey. But it's like when you go through trying to fix everything through diet and you get to the point where everything's not fixed, it's like, what else can you do? you just have to start looking somewhere else.
Okay, so this week we're talking to Lillie Kane. Lillie, I guess I started seeing you on YouTube actually not too long ago. It was weird. I hadn't seen you before, but I think it was in the shorts videos that I started seeing a lot of your content. I have to say that the amount that you can pack into that shorts video, it seems that it's amazing just how much information you can get into that 1 minute.
Yeah, thanks. Well, my husband helps a lot with this. He does all the editing for that. So
okay,
all the like sound effects and the filming, all that stuff. So he puts it all together. But yeah, we really try to jam in a lot of information in just 60 seconds.
Yeah, it's not a lot of time, that's for sure. And but I think it's a quick way to get that attention of people. I do some shorts videos as well. But I definitely don't. I haven't got to that level yet. So, anyways, usually I like to start off the podcast basically, getting to know the guest a bit better, and finding out sort of what brought you to getting into like the carnivore lifestyle to begin with. And then we can go from there and see where it goes.
Absolutely. So I grew up in San Diego, California. I was very low income. So my mom didn't have a job. My dad left when I was really young. So I grew up eating a lot of Top Ramen, macaroni and cheese boxes, just processed junk foods, shopping at the 99-cent store on food stamps. Now, I was always pretty lean my whole life because I think now back on it, my childhood, I was growing up pretty much in a calorie deficit where we just didn't have enough money for me to overeat. And then I was always teased for being chicken legs, flat chested, too skinny, anorexic. And so when I went off to college, it was my first time being able to have all you can eat buffet. And I was a track and field athlete. So all 4 years I was working out a lot. There were days where we were in the gym for 6 hours just because we were doing a track meet. So I still was able to maintain my weight, and I didn't still at that point make the correlation between like, okay, I'm having basically dessert for breakfast. I'm having waffles and syrup and oatmeal with lots of sugar inside of it. And then I'm having lunch, which is like, sure, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, which is filled with tons of sugar and also raisins and just snacky things. And then at dinner, it's just like I didn't realize all the sugar I was eating throughout the day. So because I was eating healthy, at night I would eat tons of dessert, pie, cookies, brownies, ice cream, have lots of dessert, but I was lean. Therefore, I was healthy. Well, I would skip a menstrual cycle, lots of irritability, lots of acne, skin issues, mainly like mental health, like a lot of depression, not like those peaks of energy, then the crashes, and took a nap every day, lots of very tired, fatigue, and just not a nice person, really. So I ended up, after graduating from college in Minnesota, going from San Diego to the Minnesota cold, I was like, okay, 4 years of the snow, I am done with that. So I moved to Hawaii once I graduated, and I met my now husband. So he's 9 years older than me. And at that time, he had already done an all fruitarian diet, the vegan diet, the keto diet, the paleo diet, the Mediterranean diet. He had done all the different diets in an effort to live his longest, healthiest, best quality life. And in doing so, he actually made his health worse because he ate a plant-based diet for years and didn't realize how much that was impacting his gut health and his skin. So he ended up finding a ketogenic diet prior to meeting me and healed his gut and his digestion issues with keto. But then when I came into the picture, I was eating my pizza, donut, alcohol diet. And so when you first meet somebody, it's kind of hard to say, like, I don't drink alcohol, I don't have sugar, I don't have dessert, I don't have chips and pizzas, and I don't have fun, right? So he would let it slide where I could get in like a burrito night, some Taco Tuesday, and slowly his gut issues and his skin issues came back. And so then one night he was like, Lillie, I can't keep eating like this. I have to go back to eating a ketogenic diet. And at that time, I thought that meant, okay, we're not going to have rice this week. We're not having bread this month. And he never told me, you have to eat like me, you have to do what I'm doing. But I just looked up to him so much because I would be sitting there eating cookie dough and he was fine not having any dessert. And I was like, how come I need to have sugar to be happy? Why do you come on, you're missing out on life. Let me make you a deep fried Oreo and put it in your mouth because I feel so insecure that I'm doing this and you're not having this with me that I need to like force my bad eating habits on you. So I just started asking him more questions. When we go through the grocery store, I'd pick up a piece of food, put it in the cart. He would take it out of the cart, turn it over, read the ingredients and go, that one's for you. And I was like, what? Like, what's wrong with it? Tell me, what did you read? And so slowly I was just learning more about what I was putting into my body. Then there were things where he was like, oh, I'm not going to have a tomato. Oh, why not? It's a tomato. It's healthy. Lectins. Well, what's wrong with lectin? So it just slowly evolved over time where we were eating very keto. So meat plus like cauliflower wraps, cauliflower rice, cauliflower pizza crust, cauliflower, and other veggies. And he still was having gut issues. And he was like, I think I have to remove the broccoli. I think the spinach is causing me issues. And so slowly he was removing vegetables. And now I'm somebody who's never really had gut issues with veggies, but I don't really like the taste. So I was like, we found a Dr. Ken Berry video where he said, you can get all the vitamins and minerals you need from beef, bacon, butter, liver, eggs, and sardines. And I was like, well, that's simple. And I know I have like a lot of books and things, and it looks like I have a lot of stuff behind me, but I'm actually a minimalist. So this whole room is empty, but I really gravitated towards that idea because I make so many decisions in a day that to just simplify my life, just eat foods that I think taste really tasty. And also it just makes shopping simple, cooking simple, my whole life simple with just what I eat, then I'm going to stick and do that. So I kind of moved into it just out of like curiosity and simplicity, but not because I was actually at that point trying to heal anything with my health, because I actually lost weight, helped my skin, got rid of my knee and joint pain, helped with my irritability and mood swings just by eliminating processed foods. So vegetables and fruit to me, they're whole foods. I've never really had a problem with those. I just have slowly eased into having less of those things just based on how I feel. And I find it's kind of hard to find fresh produce, especially where I live.
Yeah. And I think you touched on something there that people don't realize until they get into, like a fairly animal-based keto diet, like ketovore, and especially into carnivore, is that once you eliminate all of those sort of processed foods, it does make it a lot easier and a lot less stress trying to figure out what you're going to eat. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of the times, like my diet's pretty boring. I eat the same kind of things. I like ground beef, eggs, steak, burgers, I'm sure my wife thinks, I don't enjoy eating and all that, but that's the thing is I do. It's just, you're right. It makes it so much easier to decide what you're going to eat, instead of trying to figure out what's going to make me happy instead of just eating what makes you feel good in the end of the day.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's a great way to, I don't know. I think everyone tries to get to that same point eventually. Some people start these kind of diets and lifestyles to lose weight specifically, but I think ultimately it turns into okay, well, I've lost the weight. Now, what can I do to make my life optimal? And I think that's why so many people gravitate, from a keto diet to ketovore. And then like myself, I started 4 years ago, and, nowadays I'm not carnivore by any means, but I'm definitely not keto anymore.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah. So I think that's just a natural evolution of the lifestyle, I think, or that's what I've seen anyways, with a lot of people. That's not to say that a lot of people can't thrive just even on a dirty keto lifestyle. It's better than eating, Twinkies and tacos all the time. So.
Right. I do coaching calls as well with people. And I find people will come to me and say, I want to do the carnivore diet. I say, okay, why? To lose weight. Okay. So why are you going to do the carnivore diet? Well, I thought that's how I lose weight. You can lose weight eating vegan. You can lose weight eating a standard American diet. You can lose weight eating pizzas and donuts. But I want to do something that's going to also not make me have joint pain and skin issues and gut distress. And then at the same time, too, I don't want people to just be eating a carnivore diet if they're not going to do it forever. So It's like with this, holidays, work events, social life, can we actually do this indefinitely? Some people absolutely yes, and they also need to for their health. But other people, they might not have to go to the extreme of like, I need to eliminate seasonings and I can't have bacon because it has celery powder in it. So I think the main thing that I try to help people with in my coaching calls is like not trying to follow the carnivore diet, not trying to follow the keto diet. We're going to find the Jason diet. We're going to find the Lillie diet. We're going to do the thing that like makes me feel good. I'm also going to enjoy the taste. I'm also going to make it, it's going to work in terms of I don't have to ferment and sprout and soak and spend a bunch of time cooking. And people have a really hard time doing things that are complicated and that they hate for a long period of time. So let's find that thing that is convenient and simple and tasty and sustainable for you in your personal life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the only way that's can be sustainable is if it makes you happy, you know. And like you say, I've said it many times, it's not exactly what you say. It's not a one diet for everybody. One thing's going to work great for someone, you know, some people that are like really, really strict on one side. Mm-hmm. That's not sustainable for a lot of people. So, you know, like you say, when you're trying to find that perfect diet for yourself, you just have to listen to your body and figure out what works.
Right. And then be open-minded too to change as well. Like I know people watch some of my older content, like I did meat plus sweet potatoes and blueberries. And then it turned into meat plus no sweet potatoes, just blueberries. And it was meat plus any kind of fruit. Then it was just meat. Then it was meat and condiments. Like it has evolved. And so sometimes I know that for people that can be confusing. They're like, well, you're lying. You can't change your mind. You can't do something new. And it's just what happens is I'm not going to do something because I feel like I have to for other people or to, unfortunately not confuse people. Of course, I don't want to do that, but I have to do what works for me, and it's going to change and evolve over time. And that's one of the things I took away with my conversation with Kelly Hogan. She also said that like, hey, I eat carnivore and I do high fat 80-20. But in a year from now, if 80-20 isn't working for me, I'm going to lower the fat and that's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's definitely something that I try and stress with a lot of people I talk to too, because you're right. I started off, basically going keto but I was still trying to replace all of the nice things, right? The baked goods and the breads and everything else. And, I lost a lot of weight and I felt a lot better, but then I'm like, okay, well, I still don't feel, I think, as good as I could. And then I'm like, well, maybe I should cut out this part too. And, right. I find it's one of those things as a creator on YouTube too. You're kind of, especially if I do recipe videos. Sometimes I stick to fairly easy stuff, but you're like, oh, well, this is going to get lots of views, but really, should I be, eating it?
Right.
So
I just did that. The video I have posted in 15 minutes, it has me at the end. People have been asking me to make like a special kind of dessert because I just eat yogurt for dessert. And I'm like, that's what I do. But at the same time, I want to be helpful and give people other options, especially for people who don't want to have just the same thing all the time. So how can we make something that's like more healthy? So Carnivore Chris, they came out with this thing called beef flour. So it's just dehydrated beef. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to make a brownie. So it's beef, eggs, butter, which is what I usually would eat. But then there's some cacao and stevia. And so it turned into a brownie. And I would never eat that. I mean, like, I don't even like chocolate, but I did it because I know that for people who like chocolate or that's like a way healthier brownie. That's a way healthier option. Do that. But yeah, like you said, there's sometimes I don't even I just eat the same thing and that's okay with me.
Okay. So this week we're with Matt Troise for Matt Troise Keto and Wrestling. That's quite the interesting mix of content that you've got on your YouTube channel there. I'm still getting to know your channel. Like I was saying, I just met you last weekend on Alan's live stream. So still been going through your channel, just trying to see what you're doing over there. But yeah, I just wanted I was happy to reach out to you and have you on the show just to bring your story to, my subscribers. And like I say, what I'm trying to do here basically is bring as much information to the people so that if we can help one person, get healthy, that's basically my goal. So why don't we maybe start with how you got into sort of the keto world and, what got you started and, how did you start? And then we can go from there.
Oh, definitely. Well, keto, I'm just here to tell you right now, keto saved my life. And without keto, I don't know where I would be right now, because I've been through that rabbit hole where I was going through doctor after doctor, trying to see what was wrong. And they just kept trying to prescribe medication to me. And they kept telling me, okay, you're overweight. You have high blood pressure. You have low testosterone. You have high estrogen. And all they wanted to do was throw pills at me. And it came to a point where I had to find an alternative. And I knew there was an alternative somewhere. So I just kept searching for how to reverse high blood pressure naturally, or how to raise testosterone naturally, how to reverse my hypothyroidism, everything that was going on with me. And what kept coming up was a doctor by the name of Dr. Eric Berg. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen him and his content here on YouTube. And what I did was I just binge watched his videos, and he kept talking about keto, the benefits of keto, and intermittent fasting as well. So then I always said to myself I wasn't going to go straight keto because of how the media portrays keto. And I always said that I was going to maybe do half keto, maybe low carb, and see where that takes me. And what happened was I did try low carb at first, and I started to feel a little bit better being on low carb. And what I did was I kept going less. I kept having less carbs. So what happened was I started to feel even better as I had less carbs. So eventually I started doing a full-blown ketogenic diet, and the rest is history. Within a matter of months, all my medical conditions reversed, and I threw all my medication out in the trash. I was on like 2 or 3 pills at that time, and they wanted to prescribe more pills. And I was just at that crossroads where I was either going to follow all of their directions or I was going to find another way. And that's what I did. I found another way, and I rolled the dice, and it paid off immensely. I feel great, and it's been 5 years now, and I feel amazing. I actually saw my doctor last year, and he said, "What have you been doing?" I said, "Well, I've been doing keto." And he said, "Well, keep doing what you're doing, because everything is pretty much perfect now. So that's what I'm going to do."
Yeah. Yeah. I find more and more doctors now are having to accept the fact that, they can't really argue with numbers. Like if you go in and like all of the things they were treating you for before have reversed, and you've dropped weight and you're healthy now, like how can they really speak bad about it? Like I think they're finding that they have to sort of go along with it now.
Definitely acknowledge it. And it's just amazing that so many people, they're really uninformed, and they're just following their doctor's orders. And it's just a shame, because if they just did just a little bit of research, maybe they would come across keto and low carb and find another way, because this is really it's really a tragedy, because a lot of people are suffering, and it's really a shame that more people aren't informed of this alternative, because they all want to say, "Oh, you can have everything in moderation. You can have you can drink soda, you can have candy, just have a little bit of it." But it doesn't work that way, because, you know, some of us, we get addicted to that kind of stuff. You know, we can't go without it. And that was my problem. I was addicted to Reese's peanut butter cups and bagels and donuts. And I just would wake up in the morning and that would be the first thing on my mind. And it was just a really, it was just terrible, a terrible way to live, because it was just getting me sick. And it's just amazing that now I wake up, I feel clear, my mind is clear, I can think very clear thoughts, I know exactly what I want to do, and I don't get hungry until some point in the afternoon now. And then when I do get hungry, I don't want to have anything sweet. Like, I'd rather have like a piece of protein, maybe some vegetables, and maybe some high fat, good fats like avocado and things of that nature, maybe some berries. And yeah, I feel great doing it like that, like clean, keeping it clean. Sometimes you go a little dirty, but I try to keep it clean most of the time.
Sure. Yeah, no, I hear you. And it's funny. I sort of caught something when you were first started your story there. And it's one thing I don't know I've talked about on the show, is that it's funny how when you first start something like this, you immediately feel that improvement really, like, it's really quick, you know, like obviously you're not going to heal yourself really quick, but then you start feeling better. And then you go even lower carb and you feel better and you feel better and you feel better. And it's just, you're chasing that, you know, well, if I do this, maybe if I do a little more, I can feel better. Myself, I've been doing that for 4 years. I've been like, okay, well, you know, I like this and it's keto, but is it really helping me? So I cut it out for 4 or 6 weeks and I find that it wasn't doing me any good. So, because then I just feel a little bit more, a little bit better. And it just seems like you get down a rabbit hole trying to chase the feeling good. But I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just funny the way that progresses over time.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And it's just, you just got to go by the way you feel, really.
Mm-hmm.
And the better you feel, the better it is, you know, the better results. And that's the way you got to approach this, because if you're not feeling well with your current lifestyle, I mean, you got to find something to change it, whether it's most likely something you're consuming that's the culprit to how you're feeling, you know. So you got to find a way, because for me, for instance, my whole approach to keto has changed drastically from when I first started keto to now, 5 years later. Because when I first started keto, I went all in with all the keto desserts and the everything that had the label keto on it. And I was so happy to see these things on the market, like, oh wow, keto chips, keto bread, keto cupcakes, keto, you know, all these keto things. And I actually, you know, I fell for it pretty much. Like, it was sort of like marketing. They were able to market keto, but the macros still hit the net carbs, where the carbs were low enough to keep it in the your keto lifestyle. However, the ingredients were wreaking havoc on my gut. It didn't occur to me that erythritol and stevia and allulose, if you have too much of it, adverse effect. You got to go straight to the restroom. It's terrible. But yeah, like from that point till now, like I actually cut all that stuff out. So now, if I'm craving something sweet, I'm gonna have something like chia seed pudding, and I'll make it myself, or I'll just have a piece of dark chocolate, 85% or higher. I'll have a little piece of that, and I'll have some fruit, some berries, maybe some whipped cream, and yeah, so very simple stuff. And I tend to steer away from those keto desserts now. What about you? Do you still have any of those, or?
I'd like to say no, but it's certainly way less than when I first started. I was the same as you when I first started. Like I started 4.5 years ago, something like that. And I was happy to find all the replacement stuff. And I was making fat bombs, and I was baking almond bread, and like I was doing all the things, like everything I saw on YouTube, I was doing, right? And I was buying all the keto bars and the chips and all that stuff. But it's, yes, I found, you're right, it fits the macros, but it doesn't, I still didn't feel good eating it. So like not gonna say that I never eat it anymore, but I it's way less than it used to be. Once in a while I'll have some of those Quest chips, and if I'm feeling, but most of the time if I want something like that, it's pork rinds, right? Stick with the one ingredient kind of snack. And then I've found over the last 4 years that I can't tolerate any kind of chocolate either. So it's sort of like it's a digestion issue that I have with it. So I've had to cut that out too, because I was the same as you. I would get the dark chocolate, but yeah, like you say, it's one of those things where you have to listen to your body. And, if you're eating something regularly and you still don't feel good, well, maybe it's just not for you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And specific chocolates, depending upon which chocolates you get, some chocolates I can't eat. It's some ingredients they put in it, whether it be flavorings or whatever they use. Like sometimes they put natural flavors, sometimes they put like vanilla, some sort of vanilla flavoring or something. Maybe if you look at different chocolate brands, maybe you could have different ones, but because for me, I can't have specific ones. Like I can't have Lint's chocolate. I know that's a popular one. I can't have that. It has some sort of flavoring in it that it doesn't agree with me. But I can have the dark chocolate from Aldi. Believe it or not, Aldi makes they make an 85% dark chocolate. It's very good, and that one is I could tolerate fine, no problem. But yeah, I mean, depends what you got to, just like you say, you got to go by the way you feel. And yeah, I mean, once in a while it's okay to indulge, but you're gonna have to pay the price sometime.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's actually in this year I've sort of, because everything was getting a little lax, and I wasn't focusing as much on my diet as I should have been. So this year I sort of really clamped down on things and trying to be real mindful about what I'm eating. I'll be the first to admit it. Even though I was keto, I was still drinking, not a lot, but I was drinking alcohol more often than I should have too. And I cut that out this year too, and that's made a world of difference. So, but like you say, it's all about cause and effect. Like if you eat something and you feel like trash, well, just because it's keto and just because it's healthy doesn't mean that it's for you. So you just have to adjust to things and find something that you do. Like I like to eat lots of hamburgers and ribeyes, and so, but I'd be happy to eat those the rest of my life. So.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And just recently I had to give up dairy. I don't know what it is. Like when I first started keto, dairy was a staple in my diet, and throughout the years, I don't know what happened. It just all of a sudden, like I just started getting, like, my stomach's just couldn't tolerate it anymore. Any kind of dairy, no matter what it is, even butter, believe it or not.
Really?
Even butter. It's even the good stuff, like the grass-fed butter. I can't tolerate it for some reason. Like my face gets red, and my skin. I used to have psoriasis too. My psoriasis comes back a little bit too when I have dairy. Believe it or not, it's really odd. But so I cut out dairy as well. So right now I'm doing like the cleanest form of keto you could pretty much do. Pretty much meat, vegetables, a little bit of fruit, and a little bit of dark chocolate. That's pretty much it. It's a very simple diet, actually. Very simple. Nothing out of the ordinary. And once in a while, I may have a cheat meal here and there, but not that often.